What's poppin', dogs? Mr. Allen here. We're about to write each rational expression we have here as a single fraction, and we're going to list any domain restrictions. Now, this first one here, I don't need to factor my denominator. That's nice, right? I can clearly see that plugging in 0 for x would make each one of these denominators 0, thus making it undefined. So that is my domain restriction. X cannot equal 0. I'm going to include that in my final answer, all right? Now, I need my least common denominator, my LCD. They both have x. That's cool. That's cool. They got that in common. But what about my numbers here? 9 times 2 is 18. 6 times 3 is 18. Sounds like 18 is my number, man. All right, so I'm going to multiply this one by 2 over 2 so I can get that 18x as my denominator. This one's going to be multiplied by 3 over 3 so I can get 18x as my denominator. Now, my denominator, which I've said a few times, is 18x. 3 times 5 is 15. 7 times 2 is 14, and I get 29 as my numerator over 18x as my denominator, where x cannot equal 0. That is my domain restriction. You need to have that in the answer since it's asked for it in the question. All right, so don't forget to write that down. Sometimes I just write it down, especially if it's going to be a lengthy problem. I'll just jot it down at the very end so I don't forget about it, or maybe off to the side, something like that, okay? So make sure you remember that. 2 parts to these bad boys because we have to make sure that it is not undefined, okay? Whatever makes my denominator 0 makes it undefined. Remember that. Woo! All right, dope. Let's move on. Let's do another one. I'm going to change the blue here for this red problem. All right, we got to do some factoring, bro. We got to do some factoring on this one. My denominator on the far right, okay? What multiplies to 2 and adds to negative 3? That's going to be x minus 1 and x minus 2. That multiplies to positive 2 and adds to negative 3. Beautiful. So now that I see that, and these problems have a bit of work, so I kind of like to do a little kind of half work, not rewrite the whole entire problem there. So I can now see, okay, well, this x minus 1, it's got it, right? What else does this first fraction need here? X minus 2. So I'm going to multiply this one by x minus 2 over x minus 2, right? That will allow me to get that common denominator of x minus 1 times x minus 2. Beautiful. This denominator is that. This denominator is that. That's beautiful. That's wonderful. And I've got x times x minus 2. I'll write that out. X minus 2. And then we have plus 2x minus 1. All right. All right. Let us continue, children. Now, you might be like, oh, can I cancel those x minus 2s? No. You can't do that, man. There's addition right here. There's subtraction there. It's all tied together. I got to distribute this x first. I'm going to get x squared minus 2x plus 2x minus 1. And I'm just going to work with my numerator real quick, okay? So that I don't have to keep on writing things down. All right? So I've got x squared minus 2x plus 2x. Those guys are going to cancel, leaving me with x squared minus 1. Okay, I've done all my simplifications here. Let's bring our denominator back in. So I've got x minus 1 and x minus 2. Can I do anything further? Well, before I get too far ahead and I go for some simplifications, perhaps we should note that our domain restrictions are going to be x cannot equal 1 and x cannot equal 2. So let's remember that for the final end, final part of the problem. But my numerator here, bro, my numerator actually, I didn't realize it right away, but it can be factored, right? That's a difference of 2 squares. So I'm going to have x minus 1, x plus 1, over the x minus 1, x minus 2. Cancel out. Beautiful. And now I have x plus 1 over x minus 2 as my final answer, where x cannot equal positive 1 and positive 2, because that would make my denominator 0, right? Both of those, 1 or 2, would make this denominator 0. And positive 1 will make that first fraction 0, thus making it undefined. So there we have it, folks. Simplified answer, domain restrictions. You have to include, even though it was canceled out, that removable discontinuity. Even though it was canceled out, it's part of my domain restrictions for the full problem. Woo! That was a beast, man. Had some factoring, had some mo factoring, and some canceling. But that's pretty dope. That's pretty awesome, just like you dogs.